name's Kinzer Wawasik.
And where are you from?
I am from the Kickapoo tribe in Kansas, and I go to the University of Kansas.
I'm Shayoni Datta.
And where did you come from today?
I'm from Kent State University.
I'm Emily Beauvais, and I'm a master's student at Oakland University in Rochester, Michigan.
I'm Morgan Marin, and I'm a research technician at Oakland University, and we also work with the organization Trout Unlimited Michigan chapter.
My name's Niall Clancy.
And where are you from?
I'm from Montana originally, and I go to school at Utah State University.
So, mi nombre es María Sol Lisboa, soy de Argentina y estoy haciendo mi doctorado en Cornell.
My name is Rhiannon. I am from the University of Kansas.
Hi, my name is Christy Schmidt. I'm from the University of South Dakota, and I'm a master's student.
My name is Stefania Laires, and I'm from Bakersfield, California, but I go to UC Berkeley.
So my name is Shanae Tate. I'm a graduate student at Brigham Young University. It's located in Provo, Utah.
Okay, my name is Lambert Genzi. I'm from Washington State.
Name?
Courtney Roush.
And where are you from?
Well, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, but I'm a master's graduate student at Northern Arizona University. So that's in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Name?
My name's Lisa Kim.
And where are you from?
I am from Chicago, Illinois originally, but right now I'm in DC.
Mi nombre es Daniela Rosero y soy de Ecuador y vengo de la Universidad de Cornell.
My name is Brian.
And where are you from?
I'm originally from East Tennessee, and I got my undergrad at University of Tennessee, and now I'm a PhD student at the University of Georgia.
Siempre me gustaron la naturaleza, pero nunca me sentí tan relacionada cuando empecé a ir a los ríos y me di cuenta que eran tan dinámicos, que había miles de cosas que no veía. Y bueno, empecé a trabajar con alguien de voluntaria y de repente se me abrió un mundo inmenso y me fascinaron todos los ríos.
I got interested in freshwater science, as many kids do, just poking around in a stream, turning over rocks. We had a river flowing right next to our house.
To be honest, I did my master's in marine science, but then I started reading about some papers in different lakes, like the Great Lakes, particularly Lake Erie, and I kind of found out about the different cyanotoxin poisoning that's been going on. So that was like one big thing that kind of got me interested in freshwater sciences.
So I met Amy Bergen, and she was really enthusiastic about biogeochemistry and water, and she persuaded me, she's inspired me to get into water and learn more about freshwater science.
Well, I got interested because when I was at my undergrad, I took a limnology course, and I fell in love with going to all these lakes and being in a boat and taking all these water samples, checking out the fish. I'm taking water samples back to the lab and looking at all the algae and phytoplankton. So that's really where I fell in love with freshwater science.
Well, I'm originally from the Republic of Congo, and I moved with my family in Seattle, Washington. So just moving there and seeing how, like Seattle, there's so much water everywhere, and I know in Congo there's so much water as well, but it was just hard for people to have access, especially to safe water, drinking water, especially. So for me to play part of that community and then be part of the solution, I got interested into it, and I went to finish my bachelor in environmental science, but the focus of water.
Yeah, so most of my undergraduate was actually focused on molecular work and primarily with human specimens, but I had a really awesome advisor or professor, I guess, who saw that I was interested in molecular work but also interested in conservation, and he actually kind of grabbed me to work on a master's project in environmental DNA, since it's such a good combination of both, and I'm really excited to be working on conservation. I feel a lot more called to it than I did medical biology.
So it's funny because I was actually pre-med for a really long time, and then I was kind of looking for other ways to maybe help people, and I was supposed to take an ecology class, so I took it, and Tim Poline, who's my now advisor, was teaching it, and I actually fell in love with the subject more than I thought I would, so I joined his lab and loved the research and loved just the lab work of it.
Growing up in Michigan, you're surrounded by fresh water, and I've always been really interested. Growing up on Lake Huron, it was always something that's really important to me, and so I've always had a deep interest in studying it and learning more about the freshwater around us.
Bueno, yo soy de Mendoza, que es una ciudad pequeña cerca de los Andes, en el límite con Chile, y es una zona árida. Entonces, en Mendoza básicamente todo depende del agua y somos una sociedad que siempre está pensando alrededor del agua. Entonces, me encanta la naturaleza y cuando empecé a estudiar decidí que me quería dedicar a hacer cosas relacionadas a la naturaleza.
So I was really lucky to grow up in an area that had a whole bunch of really readily available and abundant natural resources, and so I grew up kind of splashing and swimming and fishing and snorkeling in the many streams and rivers near my home in East Tennessee.
I think people should be interested in freshwater science because it matters that we understand systems so we know how to conserve the species that live there.
Because we need water for everything. Water is life. When I was coming out to Arizona, you pass all these different states and all these communities have to be by water because they need water to drink and to live. So people really should be interested in this because water is everything for this planet.
Water is important. Water is so very important, and it's important to maintain those environments. It's important to learn, like, the harm and stuff that we can cause to those environments, how we can improve it.
A lot of people take fresh water for granted. I think just having water in your faucet, that's amazing, and because that's just so available, so accessible. We don't think about where did that water come from? How have my use of fresh water affected, the river that it came from?
Water is life, and we all live upriver, and we need to take care of our waters because that fuels the fish and everything we eat.
Yo creo que la gente debe saber que los ríos no solo son agua fluyendo de un sitio a otro y que no es agua que se está desperdiciando, sino que hay una cantidad de vida que está ahí y que nosotros dependemos de todos esos procesos pequeñitos y todo lo que pasa alrededor. Toda nuestra vida está envuelta con agua.
I just think water is everywhere, and we need it as humans, and also other species as well. So I think it's very crucial, important, especially at this time, so people know about it as well.
I think freshwater science is way more complex than I think people give it credit for, especially in Michigan where a lot of people take it for granted. Surrounded by it, I don't think a lot of people realize all of the processes that are happening within the stream and surrounding the stream, not only just in the water body itself, but also the riparian zones and how connected the watershed is to the stream, and I think that's really important for people to understand.
Yes, I think definitely in Michigan we just take those beautiful landscapes and resources for granted. All those ecosystem services don't come for free. It's a very complex process that needs constantly protected.
Well, beyond the obvious reason that fresh water is super precious in terms of drinking and just agriculture, all of it, I think even recreational value. We love going out to, rivers and walking next to them, maybe swimming in it, and I think there's a lot of special personal connections that people have and personal stories that people share with freshwater systems.
I think it's important that people know where the water comes from and know the conditions of the water in their own backyard.
Firstly, because fresh water is 3% of the Earth's surface waters, all you get. So 97% is marine. That's one big thing. And another thing is that fresh water, be it river or lake or reservoir, it's kind of getting polluted really fast. And I think people need to think of an alternative to get fresh water, fresh, clean drinking water. So I think that's one big reason why everyone should, be it someone who's a scientist or an ecologist, or just someone who's wanting to be a part of a citizen science project, or someone ordinary, anyone from any different background would definitely should be interested in it.
Well, I study a region that is the Southern Appalachian Mountains, which is an area that's really interesting. There are a whole lot of fish species that live only there and nowhere else. We call that endemism. And so we need to work really hard to protect them, but they might be in trouble because we have a whole lot of people moving to this area. And so we've got all these fish that are rare and that only live here, and we've got this kind of growing human population. And so we need to think creatively and collaboratively about how we might work together to try to keep fish around, even with this growing human population.
The research I'm doing right now is on microplastics and trophic level transfer. We're looking at microplastics and how they transfer from Daphnia magna to ghost shrimp.
So we're both actually studying the New Zealand mud snail. It's an invasive species in Michigan that has just started to invade the rivers and streams. And so I look at the individual and population growth rates of the New Zealand mud snail.
So I'm also doing same work as Emily. I'm just specifically looking at grazing and non-grazing interactions with the New Zealand mud snail.
Yo trabajo con caudales ambientales o caudales ecológicos y yo estoy tratando de identificar a través de un experimento cuál es el límite máximo que puede soportar un río antes de que pierda sus cualidades. Entonces reduzco el caudal y después le regreso al sistema para ver si es que hay una respuesta que yo pueda cuantificar para los operadores del agua.
So I do environmental DNA for an endangered species of dragonfly. I don't do metabarcoding. We focus on primarily species-specific environmental DNA, which is a little bit different than most. It's really interesting. So we've pretty much moved past the presence-absence place that most people are at for environmental DNA, and I focus mostly on persistence and accumulation within a stream, and then also in mesocosms. And so looking at how things like temperature and seasonal variability in behavior of my species affect environmental DNA accumulation and persistence.
Yeah, I've done some like remote sensing image, like looking at the accuracy of Landsat images, compare that to Google Earth in Volta Basin in West Africa, just looking at Ghana and Burkina Faso. So for my interest was just look at like what has been like those small reservoirs in Volta Basin has changed over time from 2000 to now.
So right now I'm looking at phosphorus cycling in Milford Lake in Kansas, where it often has cyanobacterial blooms, and we're looking at the phosphorus cycling in the water and the sediment and the interactions going on there.
Well, I'm an undergrad, so I feel like I'm really new to all of this. I mean, I feel like I came here to learn more about freshwater science, and honestly, all of the work that people are doing is just so amazing and so admirable, like inspiring, and I hope to learn from it and hopefully come up with a research project idea for my senior thesis.
Sure, I study the effects of dynamo, which is a nuisance algae, and its effects on the food web and how it impacts fish growth.
So I study plastic pollution in urban streams, and I look at naturally occurring debris dams, which are just areas along the stream that collect a lot of organic material and woody material. And we know that they're hotspots for a lot of garbage, especially plastic. And I study how they interact with different organisms that live in the rivers and affect important ecological processes such as leaf litter breakdown.
Entonces ahora estoy trabajando con calidad de agua, sí, un poco con el impacto de la escorrentía de nutrientes en la calidad del agua, y particularmente estoy intentando desarrollar métodos para cuantificar el agua subterránea y los niveles de nutriente en el agua subterránea y cuánto el agua subterránea aporta a los balances de fósforo y de nitrógeno en lagos.
I'm using satellite images to construct a history of algal blooms on Utah Lake.
So I study bacteria and fungi on dead leaves and streams, and that doesn't sound important, especially to my family. But what's really important is we have these tree plantings that people do for restoring stream banks, and restoration managers will focus on just planting a diverse array of trees along these banks just for biodiversity's sake. But these trees are made of different chemicals, and depending on what they're made up of, they can either decompose really quickly in the river, or they can take a long time to break down the river. So this is important because this bacteria and fungi will colonize on these leaves and affect how their elements are transferring up the food web. And it's also important because leaves are the base of the food web. And so we have aquatic insects in the streams who are consuming these leaves. And so if restoration managers don't understand that there's more to just planting a diverse array of trees along the streams, they could be essentially affecting the whole stream food web.
So for my PhD dissertation research, I'm really interested in how landscape scale influences, like the amount of roads near streams or the percent of forest in a watershed, might affect freshwater fish biodiversity, which means the number of different species in a given area. And I'm also interested in how those things might affect fish distribution. So can we think about how human activities on the landscape might affect where brook trout are not and where they are? And so that's part of it. And then the other part, I'm actually interested in science communication. And so I'm interested in how we as scientists talk about our science and our work to folks who aren't scientists, and trying to package that in ways that are accessible and applicable and trustworthy and relevant to general folks. And so I've got a project called Southern Stream Fish. There's a website, www.southernstreamfish.com, that kind of outlines what it is I hope to do. And yeah, that's my research in a nutshell.
Yeah, so it's kind of ironic that I'm also working on drinking water right now. So I'm working on something called the PPCPs, or aka pharmaceutical and personal care products. So these are like compounds which are found in like your shampoo, your sunscreens, your perfumes, and from the different antibiotics that people use. So they do not use it properly, they kind of flush it down, and they end up in the wastewater treatment plants. So these wastewater get processed, and they finally again like move into the reservoirs, which again goes into the drinking water. So I want to take a look and see how drinking water and wastewater also treatment plants have PPCPs, what kind of concentrations they're found in these treatment plants, and if the tap water also has the same amount of PPCP concentrations, and if there is like any way by which we can mitigate that, like do something about it.
I personally like how everybody is so welcoming and helpful. As a student, I find that really reassuring, and come to these with a little bit of nerves, and then they're really quickly settled with just how helpful everybody has been.
Yes, I love the interactions of being able to talk to up-and-coming scientists like ourselves, and then also being able to interact with well-established scientists that were in our same shoes decades ago. So it's reassuring getting the positive interactions with them, as well as just seeing the multitudes of different aspects of research available in freshwater.
Oh, me gusta muchísimo que la gente es muy abierta y de una forma informal te hace sentir que lo que estás haciendo tiene un sentido, es interesante, puede que no lo sea, pero para mucha gente te brinda confianza, y por eso me gusta mucho esta conferencia.
But since I've been here, it's just such an inclusive group. Like, I really feel welcomed. I didn't come here with my advisors, and I really felt like everybody's done a really good job reaching out. Hey, let me introduce you to this person, and I'll eat lunch with us. So it's been a really great community experience.
It's a family for me, you know, like people have so much energy, they want to help, I feel like home. I don't really see this as like a task, and I have to be here. I just love being here.
Completely. This is my first conference. This is my first time at SFS. So far, it's been really good. I've enjoyed being here. It's a very laid-back conference, and I am very thankful for that. But it's been fun, like networking, listening in the talks. I just got out of the poster sessions, so it's fun going around and seeing all the research that everybody's doing.
Me gusta porque me encanta el tamaño de la conferencia, como que antes he estado en conferencias muy grandes como muy pequeñas, y esta tiene como un buen tamaño, que pude conocer mucha gente y tiene una variedad de temas, como es bien amplia. Entonces fui a muchas charlas de mi área y muchas charlas de otras cosas que...
SFS is great.